and welcome to 10th anniversary Bright Sessions live stream. I am Lauren Shippen, creator of the Bright Sessions and also the voice of Sam. And with me today, I have the amazing Mischa. Mischa, do you want to introduce yourself and how you are involved with the Bright Sessions?
Sure. I'm Mischa Stanton. My pronouns are they, them, ze, them if you're spicy. And I was a fan of the Bright Sessions and then begged to be included. So then I became the sound designer and technical producer for most of the seasons.
I love that that's your memory of it, because I think that I have the same memory, but of me begging you to join. But yeah, actually, we got some great questions in advance that we're going to get to. But obviously, anybody in the chat, feel free to ask questions throughout about anything Bright Sessions audio drama related. We'll try to get to as many things as we can. But that's actually like a perfect place to start, Mischa. We got a great question from Paola, who is one of our supporters from Italy. So I imagine that Paola's not joining us right now because it's very late there.
So sleepy.
It's so sleepy. Mischa, how did we team up together? Like what? Yeah, tell me your memory of that time.
Okay. My memory of that time is I was pretty fresh out of art school, doing theater stuff, and had interest in audio and audio storytelling. So I had started my own show just kind of to like see what would happen and see if I could do one. And when you start an independent audio drama podcast in 2015, Twitter, which is what it used to be called for the kiddos out there who only know it as X, the everything app. Twitter will tell you, hey, other people are doing this. You're not alone, dummy. And so I started getting recommended other people who were doing the same thing. And I heard the Bright Sessions pretty immediately. And what tickled me about it is that you and I had chosen the same sound effect of a tape recorder starting.
Yes.
From freesound.org. And every episode of both our shows happened to start with it because of the framing devices of the shows.
Yes, and I don't think you mentioned the name of the show that you started, which is excellent.
Oh, and I started a show called Ars Paradoxica, which is a story about time travel in the Cold War. Thank you so much.
It's very, very good. And when did that show premiere?
We premiered that show in summer 2015.
Okay, yeah, so like just a couple of months before Bright Sessions.
And we
like
were monthly because
right.
it's a pretty involved show.
Yeah, I mean, it is like the opposite of early Bright Sessions in the sense that it's like deeply sound designed, like so many different settings. The episodes are quite long. So yeah, like monthly cadence make complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually dug up the original email that you sent.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
So I heard of the Bright Sessions and then I listened to it on a plane ride back from like the first convention we tried to do with Ars Paradoxica, which we did a panel for 4 people, I swear.
Listen,
and then
that's you gotta start there. That's great.
And
what
on
convention?
It was a Doctor Who convention, and what I learned is when you go to a sci-fi convention with a brand new show, people are excited to see new things and try indie stuff. When you go to a Doctor Who convention, people want one thing, and if you're not that thing, they do not care about you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we were also scheduled up against like a signing for one of the actors who played the Doctor. Like it was not gonna happen.
That's tough.
But on the plane ride back, I listened to the entire first season of the Bright Sessions, and I fell in love because it's so good.
Aww.
And I got off the plane, and from the airport, I sent you that email.
Yes, I mean, you mentioned that in the email. So this email came through on March 22nd, 2016. And you say, as I was flying back from a convention at which Ars was giving a panel, I caught up on the Bright Sessions, all of them in one sitting.
Yep.
And then you I'll just continue. I heard 2 things of interest in your interseason announcements. One, that you seem to be based in LA. I am too. And 2, you were looking for audio production help. And then you go on to offer that audio production help.
Yeah.
And our email thread continues, and I emailed, and it was so spooky because I like had listened to the first episode of ours like the day before.
Oh my gosh, really?
And, yes. And I was like, oh my God, like this is just like perfect kismet. And so, yeah, we emailed back and forth. We, these are just like these funny details that I found in this thread. We met at Groundworks in Hollywood, the coffee shop. You were wearing an Ars Paradoxica t-shirt. I was wearing a white sweater because we didn't know what the other looked like. Right. So we were like, I'll be wearing this. And yeah.
And there were only 5 of those shirts that existed because one of the co-writers of Ars Paradoxica, Julian, and I had made them at a silk screening shop by hand.
That's right. Do you still have that shirt?
I do.
I love that.
I don't know if it fits me anymore.
I like don't know where my like original Bright Sessions t-shirt went. Like I thought I had kept it, but I haven't been able to find it anywhere. So I'm glad that you still have your Ars shirt.
Thank you. Well, I made it by hand. I put so much work into it. I wasn't going to get rid of it.
But I remember that first meeting so well because you had a small notebook with you that you took notes in. And I remember just being like, oh my God, like they came prepared. And like, here I am just being like, help me. Yeah. Because for those of you who might be watching this who don't know what the Bright Sessions is, I don't know how you got here. Yeah. But like the first season is very, very minimal sound design, right? Like the first 9 episodes of the Bright Sessions I made entirely on my own, minus the other actors who played the roles, who I did a live stream with last month that you can watch on either of these channels that we're streaming to currently. And then season 2, yeah, I put an announcement in the feed being like, we have a Patreon. And that on its own was like kind of is a kind of a funny time capsule thing because like Patreon was still quite a new thing.
Yeah, it was not common practice at the time to like launch a show with a Patreon. There was sort of an expectation that like you'd sort of ramp up to a Patreon, which in hindsight was not smart, which is why everybody changed.
Right, exactly. And it was early enough in Patreon's existence that like I got to know the people at Patreon like quite well because there were like 50 of them. And like I went to their offices and like I've met Jack Conte like several times because it was like there were only so many creators, right?
That's right.
And so yeah, I was like, we're doing a Patreon, please support the show if you like it. And also, like, and I think I said like one of the things I hope to do is hire a sound designer because I was incredibly limited by like what I could do with the story because I had to all stay in that same room because that's all like a sound design. And so you can hear you can hear when you come onto the show because everything starts to sound good. But also, it's the like format of the show changes. Yeah. So it's the episode, it's sort of like the 3-part episode with Agent Green where like he comes to Dr. Bright's office to sort of do his like annual like monthly check-in or whatever.
To come in and annoy her, for sure.
Yeah, to come in and annoy her and then close out in the waiting room with Damien, and then Caleb and Adam are outside sort of staking out the office, and it's like these 3 episodes that all take place in slightly different locations. And I have no idea like what I had originally planned to do for those episodes. I think I was just planning for Agent Green to come to Dr. Bright's office and just have it be like Agent Green and Dr. Bright in the office. But then when you came aboard, it was like, well, now I can do whatever.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even really remember like the early days of working together. Like I don't sort of remember like the first time I sent you a script or like any like how sort of like we like onboarded our collaboration. Like, do you have any memories of that time?
I remember you just being like, you had this revelation of like, oh, I can put things in different places than the office now. And so I think from there you were like, okay, I have some ideas. I'm going to record the next couple episodes and get back to you. And like, I think at the time, season 2 had only just started dropping, so like I was several episodes behind, and I was like at episode 10 or 11, and you were like, here's it for 17 and 18. I was like, oh, spoilers. And then it was just sort of like, and here's what's going to happen. And I was like, I wonder what happened in the intervening episodes to make all this happen, but it's fine. We'll just do it.
So I didn't send you the scripts for the in-between episodes.
No, I had to listen to them on the podcast
as they came out. That's super helpful. Great.
Yeah, well, it was fine. All of them were in the office. It's fine.
Yeah.
And so, I think we really just got rolling, which I think I asked for. It was the first time. Someone asked in the chat also that how did I get into sound design? I've been sound designing for a long time. I was trained professionally as a theatrical sound designer, and I'm too disabled to work in theater full time because working in theater is a lot of manual labor.
Yeah.
So like I was very used to hopping onto one-off productions of theater things, and I had made this one show on my own that's from the beginning. So it was the first time I'd ever like jumped onto a thing already in progress. And it was, in hindsight, I probably should have asked for the intervening scripts, but at the time it was just exhilarating.
Well, and like I probably should have like I mean now like whenever I like sort of bring in on a new collaborator, it's like it's like I have a meeting where I like set expectations and we talk about how like we want to deliver notes and how how feedback should work and all that kind of stuff. And like I truly just remember being like, well, like here you go. And also we met late March. Like I remember we took the season 1, season 2 hiatus. The hiatus between those two seasons was just the month of February. That's it. Yep. And so we were back airing in March, and then the show I think and the season 2 ended sometime in May, and we released like 20 episodes weekly, I think, which was kind of crazy.
Well, especially once you started writing other stuff, right? A conversation with two people in a room weekly is fine, as you know now. But like once you started being like, and then they steal this van and kidnap this guy, and I'm like, I have how long?
It's like honestly amazing that you wanted to come back for season 3.
I loved it. You know what?
Because I truly don't remember making season 2 very well, because I think like the fastest turnaround that we had from like I'm starting writing on the script to this thing is out to audiences was like 4 weeks.
It was
like
fast.
It was really fast. Because I was building the train track as the train was going, and I just didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
I'll tell you this too. Like, first off, you talk about like having a sit down meeting where you learn how feedback works. Like, I don't think you've ever given bad feedback. That was one of the things I loved about working with you right away, is that you and I vibed with your feedback so well. Like we just spoke the same language pretty immediately.
Yeah.
And in terms of like building the track as we went along, so part of my theater, the reason I've been doing theater for so long is I went to a Montessori arts summer camp in Connecticut, where the summer camp was not like, at 9 a.m. you go to basketball and at noon you go to swimming or whatever. It's like, here's a wood shop and a glass blowing shop and a ceramic shop and like theater auditions, and you can go to whatever you want as long as you're doing something all day. And I started working with the tech shop pretty immediately, and they taught me how to do theatrical sound design at a very young age. They did 10 or 12 theatrical productions in less than 2 months. And the first one was always called, every summer, was called the 8-day play.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
I got training on going from not having a cast to full theatrical production in a week.
Jeez Louise.
So,
I mean, yeah, I did something sort of similar in college, which was I was in the Sinfonicron Light Opera Company in college, and
hell yeah.
Gilbert and Sullivan, man, it's great stuff. So we would launch our one production a year. We did one production a year the first weekend back from winter break. So it's like you would sort of start classes back on Wednesday in late January, and then that Thursday we would do a run of the show.
Oh my God.
And so we would come with winter break in college in America is 4 weeks long most of the time, which is crazy to me. And so we would come back to school 2 weeks early. We'd like live at everybody's off-campus house, and we'd have access to the theater, and we'd learn all of the music, all the choreography, make all the costumes ourselves, build all the sets ourselves, do all of the do everything in 2 weeks for Gilbert and Sullivan operetta.
Lauren, you had 4 weeks to publish a podcast. You were fine.
Exactly. And it was so fun. And I was usually on like cost, because if you were in the cast or in the orchestra, you still had to do all of the crew stuff as well. And so it's like I would be rehearsing on stage and then go back to the costume shop and sew costumes and then go back on stage later in the day to paint the sets, and it was so fun. But I do think that spirit typifies like early audio drama so well. And so Ember actually had a question related to this. Lauren, did you have a story arc planned out and adjust it when you could expand the settings, or how did that play out in your story plans? So yeah, I mean, like, it really did. I when I was first outlining season 2, I did know that, like, we were leading up to Dr. Bright breaking Mark out of the AM, right? Like, I knew that that's what needed to happen. But, like, I had sort of thought, like, I'm going to worry about that when I get there. Like, I'm going to worry about, like, exactly how we're going to, like, maybe it's like the aftermath, right? Like, and Dr. Bright and Sam are sort of in the office, like, debriefing after sort of Damien, like, gets away with Mark, right?
Right.
Because I sort of knew that that was going to be, or actually, I only knew that Damien was going to be involved with that whole jailbreak probably 4 or 5 episodes into the season, because we had been recording an episode with that had Damien in it, and we were just hanging out afterwards. And Charlie was actually the one who was like, "What if Damien was there?" Like, what if Damien? So it's like she's the one who kind of like pitched that idea.
She's so good at pitching. Like, what if Damien did some crazy shit?
What if we threw Damien into the mix? And it's like, and she was always right. Like, it was always the right choice to, like, throw Damien into the mix. And so, but then when you came aboard, I was like, okay, well, like, let's do like a full, and I think I do remember talking to you about that briefly, just in terms of, like, is this possible?
Yeah, I believe that when I came on middle of season 2, the conversation was kind of like, okay, we'll ramp up into it, but, like, this is what the finale is looking like. That's what we're aiming for as we bring you up to speed.
Yeah, exactly. And we got there, you know? Just catching up on the chat here. I totally agree, Ember. Still the best time travel espionage with an ace main character ever, but Ars Paradoxica, extremely true.
We started out with the tagline that it was like the best found footage time travel Cold War espionage show of all time, because it was, like, so specific that it couldn't help but be true. And I think as the show went on, we did just shorten it to, like, the best time travel story of all time.
I mean, I hear no lie in that at all. Also, I love the idea of 10th anniversary shirt for the crossover, like, for the, you know, of Ars Paradoxica Bright Sessions mashup. That's a really fun idea.
With the crossover art that Anna made for us.
Oh my God, that's right. We do have crossover art somewhere. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I need to track that down. And then finally, Alistair asks, so off topic, is that how you met Jordan and Jarvis? Yeah, so I met Jordan and Jarvis through Patreon when they both were still working there. And then Jordan left and founded Atypical with me, and Jarvis pops up in a bunch of different Atypical productions as a voice. And yeah, Patreon was great. I loved, I just, the early days at Patreon were so wonderful. I mean, and Patreon's still wonderful. I'm now in Memberful, which is owned by Patreon, but still the same family. Okay, so actually, yeah, while we're talking about sort of crossover art, let's talk about The Intrusion.
Okay, great.
What is your memory of making that episode? Like,
my memory of making that episode was you and me and the head writer for Ars Paradoxica sitting in a coffee bean, and I had that same little notebook that I met you with the first time, and I think we just wrote the script in one sitting.
I'm pretty sure we did, in that little notebook.
Yeah.
It was the coffee bean on Sunset in West Hollywood.
Yeah, and I think we just, like, we didn't write the exact dialogue, but I think we just, like, this is what this line will be, and this is what this line will be, and, like, we wrote, like, more than a script outline, but less than a full script in my little notebook.
Yes. Yeah, and then I think you wrote it up and then sent it to me, and then I sort of did my, like, Sam edits. Sent it back to you. Was that kind of how the process worked?
I believe so, because it was set in an Ars Paradoxica setting. There's this thing that happens in Ars Paradoxica where we sort of set up, like, a void space at the beginning of time travel that makes intertime communication possible for the Cold War.
Yeah.
And there's, like, a guy who has to be trapped there for all eternity to make it work. And
so heartbreaking.
And so, like, just to make sure that the mechanics of the setting worked, I think I wrote it first. And that's the first time I ever wrote for the Bright Sessions.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then that was between seasons 2 and 3, I think, because Sam was like time traveling, kind of looking for Mark
Yeah.
and Damien, like trying to find them.
Yeah,
and ended up in the Black Room.
Yes, like by accident, because her powers were still not quite under her entire control.
Right, exactly.
And the good thing about the Black Room is that it exists at all points of time and no time, so I could really do whatever.
And like Sam's time travel has never made sense, that it was like, why not? Like, and
Yeah.
that was something we talked about too when we were getting to know each other, is like Ars Paradoxica is such a clever, like expertly crafted time travel show where like all of you had such like detailed like timelines and like
Yeah.
the way that everything worked and everything. And then like I remember you asking about how the time travel worked in the Bright Sessions, and I was like, I truly don't care. It does not matter.
Well, and I
it
believe
works
we
in the
wrote-
way that I want it to work.
But I believe we wrote that into The Intrusion. I believe that's a line in The Intrusion where the guy who's in there, Anthony Partridge, goes, "That makes no sense," and Sam like gets offended and upset.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
"Hey, that's rude. Don't be mean."
Hey, it's my time travel.
Yeah.
I'm experiencing it. It makes sense.
I'm
to
pretty
me.
sure that's in there.
I think you're right. Yeah, because like, that was so fun. That's like such a good exchange that sort of like perfectly shows the difference between the two shows, right? Like, and the different kind of like science fiction that they are, right? Because like Bright Sessions is sort of like playing with like science fiction tropes in like a magical realist way to like get at like a character like first kind of like slow drama, whereas Ars Paradoxica is doing like science fiction and like doing like a sweeping narrative that like ties in a bunch of different things.
Yeah. It was definitely plot and mechanical driven as opposed to the Bright Sessions, which was intensely character driven.
Yeah.
And both things worked, and it was nice to see them meet up and hang out.
Exactly. Emma's got another great question. Mischa, I've been dying to know for ages, did you have a method for keeping Anthony's perceptual timeline straight? If so, how?
Oh yeah, really
Great question.
complex diagrams. Let me see. Hold on, wait, maybe I can.
Oh, do you have one?
Possibly. Let me see. No, not. I thought I might have had one really close to hand. No,
man, that
I
would've
just
been
like
amazing.
drew a really, really intricate. We called it the diagram with straws because there's a movie called Looper. With Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis, where they're in a diner and they're talking about their two time travel versions of the same guy. And Bruce Willis sits down and he goes, "I'm not about to make diagrams with straws in this diner." And so we called it the diagram with straws.
I love that. That's really good. So diagrams was the main mode through which you kept all of those things straight.
Yeah, and because like really that was a response to I had seen the movie Primer, which is another really great example of like mechanically
I've never heard of that movie.
intricate time travel. It's like a very independent movie. I think it was made for like $7,000. It's like so tiny
Dang.
budget, and it's great. And it's got one of such a solid system for time travel in it. And then I was also watching. This was in like 2011, 2012 when we started conceptualizing the show. And I was also watching Doctor Who. Doctor Who was huge at the time, but it was not as rigorous as Primer, and I wanted it to be. And I was like, I can do it. I can do it.
That is such a good motivation to making your own thing. Is like this thing that I love dearly is honestly like everybody knows that I am like obsessed with Bucky Barnes, right? Like that's something we're all
I hadn't
aware of.
heard that, Lauren. Are you obsessed with Bucky Barnes? That's crazy.
And in 2014, I, like many people, saw The Winter Soldier in theaters and got Bucky Barnes madness. And and like I think that like so much of like, and I was like, so like when I like first started ideating the Bright Sessions, like 2 months after I saw Winter Soldier, actually, because that was April of 2014, and I wrote the first script of the Bright Sessions in like June of 2014. It's sort of coming from that same kind of place around like, God, I like love all of these like superhero, like superpower stories. And like, I just want to hang out with these characters in their like daily lives. And like Bucky Barnes needs help.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started. I loved The Falcon and the Winter Soldier actually as a TV show, but don't even get me started on his therapist in that because I have opinions.
I thought of you immediately.
I got a lot of messages about it, honestly.
I was like, I can't believe Lauren didn't write this. She would have done it.
I would have taken a slightly different approach, certainly.
Sure.
And yeah, but I think that can be a very powerful motivator, is like taking something that you love and being like, I want to add something to this, or I want to see another dimension of this. And like, yeah, I think sometimes people get in their heads about like needing to have like the most original idea of all time, and it's like the reality is that like there are no new ideas, right? Like, and starting from a place of I love this thing, what's my take on it, can lead you to something like very original and very fresh.
There's also a concept, which I'm sure there's like a more intricate thing, but my college roommate used to just refer to it as the dialectic. The idea is that you have a thesis and then you break up an antithesis to it and then you synthesize that argument. And so like, because you're taking a thing and you go, I love this thing, but I wish it was more second thing. The synthesis of those two things is an original idea.
Right. Yes, that's such a good way of putting it.
That's all it takes to have an original idea. You don't have to have something completely out of a blue sky. Just saying, I wish one thing was more like another thing is an original
enough.
idea.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so well put. I never think I'd find a fellow Bucky enthusiast here. Explains why I love the show so much. Oh, Bucky enthusiast is like putting it really nicely.
Yeah,
if
you want to see an obsessive Bucky Barnes stan, just follow Lauren on social media.
Yeah, it's literally like that's Bucky Barnes fan art. That's Till the End of the Line embroidered that a friend made for me. That's actually Steve and Peggy with the TARDIS, and then that's Steve and that's like, and the rest of it's all Bright Sessions art. It's like Bright Sessions and Bucky Barnes up there.
Sure. Yeah. Very good.
Also, I love all the folks who are re-listening to things. It's just the best. Like,
that's another cool thing about making audio fiction. A lot of like conversational podcasts tend to be like sort of in a way tied to when they come out. You know, people are like having emotional responses to events, and so they're tied to events. But like a story like this, like it exists and it's there forever, and you can come back to it, and it means different things when you come back to it every time.
Yes, I've been getting so many nice messages on Tumblr, because I'm also Tumblr is where I do my Bucky Barnes posting.
Oh, is that it?
And cool. That's really where I'm most.
Gotcha. I've retreated to Tumblr in lieu of any other social media making me at all happy. So
listen, I never left. I've been on there for this is my 15th, 16th year on Tumblr. I've been there since late 2008, early 2009. And I've been a consistent poster all the way through. And yeah, I have gotten some really nice messages over there in the last couple of months as I've sort of been, talking about 10 years of the Bright Sessions and everything, of people being like, I'm re-listening now, and I just graduated college and I first listened to the show when I was in 8th grade. Or like, which is like, oh God.
Yep.
But also
gonna process that one really quietly. It's fine. Move on.
Yep. But like, I mean, we were like in our early 20s. Like, that's what's so crazy. And yeah, and it's been really nice to hear from people that they're like getting a new thing. Like, they're both talking about how like it's helping them like reconnect with like their younger self, but also they're appreciating parts of it that they didn't when they were younger because they have like a more adult perspective or just a different perspective. Things have happened in their life, what have you. Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about art that you love, is you can just like revisit it forever and it's always new in some way. Oh, good. Dashboard Diary Stand Rise Up. Yes, I also have a podcast about Tumblr. So glad that I'm not the only person who's been on Tumblr for like 15 years. Oh, Allison too. Amazing. Love to see it.
This is my 10-year Tumblr anniversary, because I did get on Tumblr to talk about Ars Paradoxica and then discovered that it was really the social media where I should have been the whole time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, that is really where I found the original listenership of the Bright Sessions. And then for finding other creators, it was Twitter. And then like, do you remember the Facebook group that then turned into the Slack channel?
Yes. I definitely remember the Slack channel.
Yeah. There was a Facebook group for audio drama creators that had like, I don't know, like 300 people in it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then Felix Trench from Wooden Overcoats and Mark Solinger from Archive 81 built a Slack for us. And it was like 100 of us in there from like around the world slacking all the time, which was really, like, that was such a moment.
It was beautiful for the moment where it existed. It was like a place that couldn't last, but it felt really great.
It was really, really lovely. I met a lot of I think that's how like I met Felix. And then I, introduced him to his wife.
Oh my God.
So
yeah, that's right.
It all worked out. It's just, it's so fun. Like, just the way that all of our lives have like intersected is just wild. Okay.
Truly.
I want to make sure that we get to the questions that people send in advance.
Okay.
Okay, this is a pretty quick question from Izzy. What audio editing software would you recommend for those trying to start out in this medium?
Excellent question, and I'm so glad to have a good answer for you. It is called Reaper.
Yeah!
Reaper is an open source audio editing software that processes like any amount of other plugins and stuff you want to use, just like the big boys do. It is, rather than being $200 or $300 a year, which is I think what I'm paying for Pro Tools now, which is crazy. Reaper is a one-time purchase of $60, and it also has an unlimited free trial.
It's great.
It's amazing. Do
you feel like you can do all of the things that you would need to do to sound design a show in Reaper?
100%.
Wow.
It is infinitely modular and customizable. You can change how anything works inside of it. You can change any hotkey to anything. There are some like cool people out there who have uploaded like, hey, this is a workflow like program, how to like program everything in Reaper that really works for me. You can copy my format and it'll like change context menus so that things are grouped differently and make more sense. And like you can just get that from people. It's crazy good. It does anything I could want to do for making an audio drama. Reaper.
That's incredible. I have used Reaper a little bit because when we made the College Shape season 7 of the Bright Sessions, that was our first remote production.
Mm-hmm.
And because we recorded that like June of 2020.
Yeah.
It was around that time.
That was the only season of the Bright Sessions where like one of the biggest tasks was making sure everyone sounded the same when they were recording in 50 different closets.
Yes. Yeah, because nobody also like now actors all have remote setups that are excellent, but like nobody did really. And like, I remember like, getting like sending mics to people, and I made like a Reaper tutorial of like how to record on Reaper that I sent everybody because that was what we had to record on, because we couldn't ask, actors to buy Pro Tools or Adobe Audition. And then Audacity, can be good too, but it had a crashing problem. It doesn't really have that problem anymore as far as I can tell.
It's better now. They've added more features. I haven't really played around with it because what I always say is like making a fully sound design production in Audacity would be like writing a novel in Notepad. Yes. It's just like it is just like a bare bones thing. If you want any sort of features, you can. There are other things you can do though.
I mean, listen, perhaps little known fact, but the first, the main run of the Bright Sessions, the first 4 seasons of the Bright Sessions, those scripts are all written in Pages.
Yeah, incredible.
Because I didn't have Final Draft because it's expensive and I couldn't afford it, and so I just wrote it in Pages, and because I didn't know about like Highland and like these other things, like Fade In, these other things that are like cheaper or free. Not all of VAs having to record in closets for their career podcast. I mean, listen, we all just went right back in.
Absolutely.
Briefly. That was such a time that because we were recording at the same time. It was end of May and beginning of June, and so it was quarantine, but also there were like lots of protests, and so there were like helicopters circling around LA like literally constantly.
Oh, you were right in there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, man, what a time. No bummers.
No bummers. No.
No bummers.
I mean, I'll say this about closet setups. So at the time we were doing that, I also like. I borrowed an interface from you, and I put together this kit that I was driving around to actors for a different production. Like I was driving all over LA and like dropping off a milk crate full of audio equipment on people's porches, and then going 12 feet away so they could open the door. And that was a time, but we're actually in production for the next season of that show right now, and people are finally coming to my house to record in my closet. And I'm like, wow, back to being in the closet. But I didn't know how good I had it.
Oh man, that's the best. Oh gosh, one of the things that will be posted after this live stream on the brightsessions.tumblr.com, our Bright Sessions Tumblr, is the blooper reel for seasons 1 and 2. The never heard before blooper reel of seasons 1 and 2. Never heard before because I didn't start pulling out bloopers until season 4. Yeah. And so I've spent the last 6 months listening to all of the raw audio I could find on double speed.
Yeah, seriously. Who got the time?
Bloopers? Who's got the time? And it's so I was editing the season 3 blooper reel today because that'll come out next month. And it's just like it's so nice hearing all of us in the same room giggling and laughing and having a good time. And I was just like, God, like I miss that. I miss being in person with all of you. And like, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Shout out to everyone in chat who calls the bloopers the bloops. That is what I call them all the time. I don't call them anything else. They are the bloops.
Is that a multitude thing? Because that's something I picked up from Brandon for sure.
I've been working at Multitude for so long. It's hard to tell what is and isn't a Multitude thing that I say now.
Fair enough. Another way in which podcasting is like intertwined,
It's so funny because and he'll be uncomfortable with me saying this on a live stream. Hi, Brandon. Your partner is my boss. Which is
I guess that's technically true.
which is wild because like we have such a good rapport. Like I love working for him, but also it will come up in conversations sometimes that you and I have been friends for longer, and I'm like,
yeah. Well, and what's crazy too is that I have known Amanda and Julia at Multitude longer than I've known him, and no, not longer than I've known you. I've known you the longest, but I met Julia and Amanda in 2016 also, I think.
Yeah, same around the same time.
Yeah. Podcasting is a tiny English village. It's very, very small.
Yep.
Brandon, I guess, is watching because he just texted me bloop.
Yep, I got the same one.
or he can just hear me. Hard to say. I am very loud, and unlike his office, my office is not soundproofed. Anyway, so yeah, there have been lots of different iterations of making this show throughout the years. But one of the things I do want to talk about, even though this is technically like season 2 live stream, these things are like broadly themed, is what I think is the coolest thing that we've ever made together. And is one of the things that I am proudest of in the like literal hundreds of episodes of audio fiction that I've produced, which is the musical episode of the Bright Sessions.
Yeah.
I remember when I sort of first had the idea for that and started to think about it seriously. Like, do you remember the first time I brought it up to you as like as a like possibility and what you felt about it?
Not really. I think what I remember is just sort of knowing that you had a music background and I had a theater background, and that Evan was incredibly talented, and that like all of our most of our cast were really good singers, just casually, having seen like Ian and Anna in Rocky Horror. So like thinking like, yeah, we all do kind of have this background that could make this happen, such that when you asked me, could we do this? It felt kind of inevitable. I
love that. Yeah. As a little side anecdote, so yeah, Ian McEwen, who plays Agent Green, and Anna Laurie, who plays Chloe, were in a live production of Rocky Horror that was at this bar in Hollywood on Halloween, like a couple days around Halloween.
Yeah.
And they did it a couple of years.
They did it. They tried to do it as an annual thing, and it lasted like 3 to 5, I think.
Yeah. And I remember, and I was talking in our Atypa Pals Discord about this the other day because it's so funny in retrospect. But I don't know if I've ever told you about the first time that I met Ian McEwen. But and actually now I'm realizing that I think I started to confuse some of the different the years of this, but this was the first year that they did the Rocky Horror Hipster Show, it was called. And I had known Anna for a couple of years at that point. This was probably like this would have had to have been 2015 because Ian was then in the show starting in 2016. Yeah. So I went, and he played Riff Raff, and afterwards I, am talking to Anna at the bar or whatever, and he comes over and we start chatting, and it's like the opposite of who Agent Green is.
Yeah.
It was Ian, like, sweaty, covered in glitter, wearing pants, suspenders, and nothing else, bleach blonde hair.
Oh my God, did he bleach his hair?
Yes.
He didn't do that any of the other years.
He didn't do that any of the other years. And so, like, I found a video of like clips of the show a little while ago and put it in the Discord. And I was like, oh, I guess I was wrong. I guess he didn't have bleach blonde hair. But now I'm thinking that was a later year, and that I am remembering this correctly. I think he did bleach his hair. And it was just so funny because it's like, then 3 months later, Anna was like, you should think about talking to Ian about playing Agent Green. And I was like, the guy played Riff Raff? Like, that's such like not a like mood match. And then of course, like, he was the absolute perfect Agent Green and turned that character into somebody that, like, I never could have expected.
Well, and that's just down to Ian as a performer. Ian is an incredible performer.
He's amazing.
He has such wide range. He's so thoughtful. He's like an acting coach now. We also make 2 shows together still. And so, like, to watch him work, he's one of the smartest actors I've ever seen.
He's wonderful. He is also of the season 3 blooper reel, which is, the full one, which the ATIP pals get, is 14 minutes long, and 7 of those minutes are Ian.
Yeah, Ian,
like, conservatively.
So funny. We'll say whatever, assuming you'll cut it.
And yeah, this is a little teaser for a clip that I shared in the ATIP pals Discord today of Ian screaming a lot.
Yeah. So one of the shows we make now, I've started making a Dungeons and Dragons actual play show with Ian, and we do I want to say a 10-minute blooper reel for every episode that we put out, and that's available for our patrons. And a lot of it is Ian. Ian will say some of the most ridiculous stuff you've ever heard. It's great.
Completely tracks. And actually, I mean, to bring us back from my my side quest, I think, just a credit to Ian's talent and just, like, what a lovely person he is to work with. I mean, like, everybody that we worked with on the Bright Sessions is just, like, the nicest person alive, and the most talented person alive. But, like, Ian sort of being the, like, dream guide of the musical episode was something that, like, wasn't really planned initially, but then, like, just seeing him and Alana interact in their episodes, I was just sort of like, well, this is lovely. Like, just the way that he is with her is so lovely. And sort of, like, the idea of, like, Agent Green as a mentor when we've kind of had him as this, like, half villain for the show. And then, of course, he just has an absolutely beautiful voice.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like, how are you going to have a musical episode of your show with Ian McEwan and not have him sing?
Exactly. And so, I mean, to talk about the musical episode a little bit more. I sort of had the idea for that, and I knew it was going to take place in a dream. And actually that came out of a conversation that I had with Ben Acker of the Thrilling Adventure Hour. Oh, yeah. Because I got coffee with him in Los Feliz once, and we were talking about musical episodes, and I was like, I just don't know how I would do it in the Bright Sessions. And he was like, well, like, I don't know, just like put it in a dream or something. And I was like, wait a second. What if somebody had that power? What if somebody had the power to go into dreams? And that's actually, like, Rose was created for the musical episode, basically. Like, she was like a seed for that to eventually happen. And then it became more real because Evan Cunningham, our incredible composer, and eventual sort of studio engineer, when we moved into the studio for AM Archives. So I've known Evan since college. I've known him since he was 18, which is crazy. Because we sang a cappella together in college because we were nerds. Yeah. And then when he moved to LA, I was like, oh, can you start doing the music for the Bright Sessions? And then, I approached him about doing a musical episode. And the process of sort of building that was sort of, I think, the most collaborative post-production process, in the sense that, like, there were times when we kind of, like, sat in front of the speakers together and listened to stuff and talked about it. Because, like, the way that the sound design and the music was interacting was, like, a totally, like, had you ever done anything like that before? I had never done anything like that before. Neither had Evan.
Not in post. I'm trying to think. I mean, I had done a couple of, like, student short films in school where, like, I sat with the director and we sort of did the edit together. But that was really the first time professionally. that I had done that. And yeah, it's just like, I think Evan and I had talked early on and been like, we're just going to have to be really tight with each other because obviously these two, like both elements are incredibly important to sell the thing. Like the music has to sell and it has to like be fully toned and like really sound like a soundtrack. And then also that the sound design has to be immersive enough to sell the conceit of the show, of like the episode. So it like neither could overpower the other. Like they really had to work together. And we I think we clocked that really early. So Evan and I were just like, yep, and we'll email like 5 times a night. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about one of my favorite sound design sequences ever in the Bright Sessions, the football game? And how that kind of came to be and your unique perspective on designing a football game?
Sure. Yeah, if you want me to tell this story on your live stream, that's fine, Lauren. So
I don't remember it being like a edgy story. No, maybe I'm misremembering.
Just the intense burden of being known and seen by your friends, you know.
Sure, yeah.
So you wouldn't think it to look at me or know me or really talk to me much at all. I've been in the arts since I was 12 years old. I am like a gamer, but like I'm not a huge sports fan. My dad was a sports writer my entire life. He was a newspaper sports writer for 25 years, and then he was an executive producer at ESPN for 10 years. And on his like days off, he would coach high school football. He did this my entire life, and so starting at the age of like 2 until I graduated from high school, during football season, I would also sort of like hang out with him on the sidelines, and like I started learning plays when I was 11 or like when I started being able to understand that kind of stuff. So when you put in a sequence in the show where someone stands on a football field during a game of high school football on the field in the middle of the game, I was like, Lauren, I know exactly what it sounds like to be right there. I have been there my entire life.
That's part of why it sounds so good,
And,
like it's...
And there's no way you could have known that before you wrote the sequence.
No, well, I mean, one of the things that cracks me up about this fact about you, that you like grew up on football sidelines, is the fact that like famously football in the Bright Sessions universe is wrong.
Yes.
Because based off of the, yes, okay, yeah, Marcus, nods, a game of football, which as we all know is a spring sport. Okay, so listen. I went to a very small high school. Starting in 4th grade, my family moved to a small town outside of New York City, and actually we have the same area code in our phone number.
We do.
One of the first things that we were like, "Oh my god!" about.
Yeah, like we didn't meet until we got to LA, but we actually grew up like 20 minutes from each other.
Yeah, which is crazy. and we've never been in New York together, which is nuts.
No.
We've never overlapped, which is so weird. But I went to a very, very small school. It was K through 12, all in one building. There were 100 people in my graduating class. We did not have any cheerleaders whatsoever. We did not have a marching band. We did not, like, football was like not a thing. Like, my high school was famous for its track and field. Like that's what, like, it was people running long distances. It was not football. So by the time I was writing the Bright Sessions, I'd been to exactly 2 football games in my life, a Harvard-Yale game when I was growing up because my grandfather went to Harvard.
Oh, nice.
And then a homecoming game in college because William & Mary, where I went, also is not famous for its football. And so much so that like one of the other music majors who was in my jazz seminar with me was the quarterback. Which like I think kind of tells you everything you need to know.
Excellent.
So anyway, in the timeline of the Bright Sessions, Caleb talks about doing football actively when it's springtime in the universe of the Bright Sessions, because like I just thought football was something that you did like year round in high school.
Nope.
So I really could have used you earlier in the process. I mean, for lots of reasons, but for that reason, amongst all the others.
Yeah. Right. So somebody in the chat said, "Come on, it's sports ball," and like that's the sort of mindset that you went in with, like, yeah, it's sports ball and we'll do a thing about football. And then I read the script and I was like, Lauren, I'm gonna make this better than your wildest dreams because I lived there.
And then it was then memorialized. I'm pretty sure this is the clip that I did.
Yes.
So for the Bright Sessions rap party for season 4, when we kind of like closed the show up, I got everybody rap gifts of those like audiogram like prints, you know.
Yeah, it was like a little waveform as a print in a frame, and it was nice.
Exactly.
And you like signed the back and stuff.
Yeah. And you know, I picked sort of like specific lines for people, like obviously like, you know, "You Keep Me Green" was Brigands, and you know, so on and so forth. And I pulled out the waveform for the football game for you. Yeah, because it was just like it was so great. And it's like and then I think that I also think inspired Evan to put horns in Against the World, because that initially, like my initial kind of conceit for that was like, I want to do like a fun kind of like pop punk thing, because like that's kind of what I, you know, like think like, you know, kind of like Adam style and
oh right, that's right. And then fun. It became like really marching band style.
And then it became marching band style because the football game sort of was such a wonderful, like prominent thing. And so yeah, that was just really, really great. I'm so glad that I'm not the only person who like also doesn't know anything about football. And yes, I never noticed it either until someone actually like pointed out the football thing to me. Like it was not something I noticed on my own. Somebody pointed it out to me.
Yeah, and doesn't it suck? This is just something about creating independent content for the internet in 2015 too. Is like, doesn't it suck when you put out a thing and you're like, I'm just a little guy and I'm making a thing, don't you like it? And people go, actually, you got some facts blatantly wrong in your story. And then you look it up and you're like, damn, they were right. Oh, shit. I'm so dumb.
Every time. I like, there are plenty of things that I do like intensive research for now that I still get things wrong on. It's like just how like no matter how many times you proofread a script in recording, you will find a typo.
Yep. Oh,
like
yeah.
It's just one of the like laws of the universe.
Yep.
Okay, we only have 10 minutes left, so okay. I want to be sure we get to some of these advanced questions. Steffi sent in a question about how you got involved in the project, so we covered that, and then okay, I think this is an interesting question to maybe sort of end on. Okay, so this question's from Tom. I'm an audio drama creator with 2 shows. Amazing. I love working on them, but I do wonder about life once they're finished. After your work on the Bright Sessions, which I love, how did you find other projects to work on? Can you talk about your journey post Bright Sessions? So yeah, I'd love to sort of post Bright Sessions and Ars Paradoxica. Like,
sure.
What has life been like?
Great question. So, first off, I want to thank you, Lauren.
Me?
For being one of the most consistent like return clients I've ever had in my life. You know, I've worked on so many disparate projects, theater, sound design, film, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's so funny. I work with a lot of people who are like, we loved your work. We had so few notes. We had a great time. You know, thank you so much. And then I never hear from them again. I'm like, did you never do anything else that needed a sound designer ever again? I'm right here. No. Lauren, you hired me for stuff after the Bright Sessions, and I thank you.
It's true.
So that was one thing, is that like I think we just had so much fun working together that we just kept doing it afterwards.
Yeah.
Another person you introduced me to was Jeffrey Glazer, who was at the time developing not entirely immersive fiction shows, but some more like story-driven content for Wondery, the big podcast company. He's since left, and that company has changed over a couple times at this point. But so I sort of started getting more high-profile work from working consistently at Wondery, which is, you know, and then people started hearing my name in credits for things, and I put a submission form on my website, and I said, hey, you can hire me if you want to email me. And even now, I get, you know, like one or two. I've sort of moved on to a more stable gig, making more conversational podcasts, stuff that is like not quite as intensive as needing a sound effect for any movement to exist ever in a person's mind. I don't have to. The amount of footsteps I don't have to sound design anymore is truly incredible.
Oh, bliss. Absolute bliss.
So I've sort of moved on from there. But every now and then, you know, like 1 or 2 a year, I'll still get like, hey, I'm working on this big project. What do you think? So it's really just been word of mouth. I I have friends in the independent community. You know, you mentioned Felix Trench. I still work with him. I recorded with him a couple months ago. A lot of us from that time stay in touch.
Absolutely.
I got lunch with Emma Jarko from Will 359 like 2 months ago.
I saw Emma recently too.
Yeah. So like, it's funny. You know, I talked to another person from Will 359, Sarah Shackett. I was hanging out with her. Gosh, it was quite a few months ago at this point. What has this year been? And the way she talked about it, she referenced it as like we all went to grad school together.
Yes.
You know, the fact that like you and me and Gabrielle and Sarah and like all the people from that kind of like 2015 to 2019 time of making audio drama on the internet was kind of our grad school.
100%.
So it's a lot of it's finding those big contracts where we can and working with as many of those people as we can. Yeah. It has been my experience. It's quieted down now. I think in 2025 we've sort of had the crest of audio drama's perceived profitability and are kind of on the other side of that wave. And so I found a more stable job editing sort of those more sustainable lower lift podcasts, and I make the indie stuff with my friends. And, you know, we're sort of back to the place where like, yep, I have a day job and then I make indie stuff with my friends.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, my trajectory was basically exactly the same. And I think the grad school thing is such an apt metaphor because it really does feel like that. Because we were all just like making our own stuff and learning from making our own stuff and then learning from each other. And like, God, I remember like, anytime I would go to New York, I'd see Gabrielle and Zach and Sarah and like, God, I remember being on with like G Chat, whatever, like the Gmail chat feature with Mark Solinger, like most days just being like, you know, what about this thing? What about that thing? And yeah, I mean, I like just the thing I always tell people who like are in audio drama early in their career or like want to get into audio drama is that like the stuff that you make is your best resume, right? Like, because the first actual job that I got, the first time I got paid to write audio drama, because I did not get paid to write any of the original Bright sessions, because I spent that money hiring you and hiring more
paying
actors
me and the actors mostly.
and paying Evan and paying the musicians for the musical episode.
I got that violinist that we brought in.
The music episode cost more than the rest of the episodes combined.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll just briefly mention this. That was the first time we went from like, hey, I'll pay you what I can because we're funded by Patreon, to like the musical was the first time we were like, I'm actually going to pay you your normal rate for this.
Yes, exactly. That was really the time when we started to kick things up, which was, you know, toward the end of the main run of the show. Yeah. But it was that same year, it was 2018, that John Dryden, who is an audio drama creator over in the UK, DM'd me on Twitter and was like, hey, I'm putting together this show, Passenger List. I'd love for you to write an episode. And I Skyped with him because Skype was still an existing application back then. And by the end of the Skype call, I had convinced him to hire me on as like the co-producer and co-director of the whole thing. And that was really like, that was my first like paid job and like my first really serious production, and like prepped me really well, I think, for the AM Archives, which really was like our first time doing like or my first time at least in the Bright Sessions doing like a full scale production. And I really credit John with just being like such a wonderful boss and collaborator and a wonderful teacher. And especially because the Brits just have like a much more consistent tradition of making audio drama. Like there were just like lots of lessons I learned from him.
I feel like we in America, the history is like reinventing it from scratch every 10 years. Yeah, exactly. And then it was just about meeting people and keeping in touch with those people and making more stuff and working with friends. And now I have a day job and I make indie stuff on the side, and I'm always, looking for other big contracts, and a couple of those things. But like even one of the big contracts that I got came through, like my submission form on the Atypical's website, and they hired me to write something, and then they asked for other writers, and so I recommended 3 people that I love and who I think are amazing, and they hired all of them, and so now we're like all getting to work together, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. So yeah, that's really like the best thing that you can do to kind of like make sure that you have life after your show is just like get as entrenched in the community as you possibly can be, which I know is like harder now just because we're all like a little bit more scattered and like there's less of a kind of in-person community in some respects. But yeah, that would be my suggestion. Okay, we've got a couple. I know we're at the end of time here, but we've got two other questions in the chat.
I'm around.
Ember, have either of you considered turning your series into a web show, like Limetown, for example? Sort of famously, the Bright Sessions has gone through several rounds of TV development. It's always nice to get those option checks, but it has not been bought by any network, so.
Yeah, and in 2025, networks not really in a buying mood, I'll say.
No, not so much. Would you want an Ars Paradoxica TV show?
There was a time. I think honestly, like there was Ars Paradoxica was a very like relevant show. It's about American politics, and we would have to do a lot of updating to include stuff that's happened in the 10 years since. Not to a point where I think it
happened.
No, everything's the same and normal and good, and I don't have to pay $1 million for a carton of eggs. But so like I don't think in a way that would fundamentally change the show, but it would almost feel like going back to the drawing board. And I've just like I love that story. I've gone back and listened to it, and like a shocking amount of it holds up, I think. Which I didn't think of.
Oh, yeah.
It's my first podcast. It's my first professional show that I put out into the world, and so I thought it wouldn't hold up as well. But like, so I have also moved on. I have other stories that I care about a lot too, and I'm just like telling those right now. Yeah. I also think that like I've now done a lot of those big projects, and the bigger the budget, the more voices in the room.
Yeah.
And I you know, sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes the money makes it worth it, or the people who are the voices in the room happen to care about the story as much as you do, and sometimes they don't. And you don't really get to choose when you're in that position. And so I'm just a person I want to tell the story the way I want to tell it when I think I'm right, and I don't want anybody who I think knows less than me to tell me I'm wrong when I'm not. And so that's involved a lot in TV production as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think about this all the time with the last 2 seasons of the Bright Sessions, the AM archives, and the college tapes. Like, those seasons are miracles. Like, It's crazy that Luminary, who funded those seasons and then just like allowed me to take them all back and release them widely, gave us full budgets and had literally zero say on anything story. Like, I didn't have to deliver them scripts. They just cut the check and then I delivered them a show. And like, that just doesn't happen.
That was crazy. As we were doing it, it felt crazy.
Yeah. Even at the time, I was like, I know that this is not going to happen again. And so like, let me do it as well as I can. And as a result, like, I think there's things about the college tapes that I would do differently because I would just not make it in 2020. I would just make it a year before. Which just, wasn't possible. But yeah, the college tapes I have mixed feelings on just because like it really was a really hard thing to put together just because of when we happened to be going into production. Like we just had to figure so much stuff out from, the ground floor. Whereas AM Archives was just like, that's I think one of the best productions I've run. And I think like one of the best sounding bits of the Bright Sessions. I think that it's got like, I'm just really, really, really proud of that season. Yeah. Everything that he does is amazing, but Evan's scoring in the AM archive specifically is just like some of my favorite scoring of like any podcast ever.
When Helen and Agent Green have that showdown, oh man. The score gets me.
And the score just at the very end when Jackson is giving his little speech is just like, I like literally go back and just listen to like the last like 2 minutes of the last episode, like not infrequently. Okay, final question. What's the hardest thing to sound design? Like either like the hardest like scene you've ever sound designed or like the hardest element that you often encounter?
Yeah. I mean, footsteps. They take forever. They have to be intricate. They can't just be a loop. They like every step has to be motivated by what a character is doing and saying in the moment. So it's just so finicky, and balancing when more than one person is walking down a hall. Like trying to do a West Wing walk and talk in audio drama would kill me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh my God, that would be a nightmare.
It'd be a nightmare because all it would be is just people talking and footsteps and a constant intermittent background chaos. Constant intermittent background stuff is hard. Like when things aren't just like something that can smoothly be a background. I call it like the matte painting in the background, sort of animation style. Like there's a matte paint, there's like a bottom layer of ambient sound in the background of a thing, and that sets the scenes pretty well, unless something is intermittently happening in the background that people refer to sometimes and then has to go away. Like that intermittency is hard.
Yes. Yeah, I love walk and talks. And I love footsteps, and I anytime I write them in a script, I am always sort of consciously like thinking about like, okay, like is this worth it? Like is this enough for the scene to sort of justify it? Your footsteps are how I caught that Owen was the one who turned off the speaker.
Just because they're the hardest thing to do and very annoying and very difficult doesn't mean I didn't do the heck out of them.
You're incredibly good at it. It just sucks.
Yeah, it just sucks.
But yeah, thank you, Marcus, for pointing that out, because you are incredibly good at doing the footsteps. They are a pain to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question. What type of project would you look for in the future? I figure we can just sort of talk about like, what are you working on now? What do you have like a dream project that you would love to do? Anything you can tell us about stuff that's coming up in the future? Just whatever, whatever sparks.
Well, I'll say this. For a long time in my career, the goal was to I got into audio drama so that I could do one season of a show as a reel, so that I could get into like animation, sound design, and voiceover direction, because I loved Justice League when I was growing up as a kid, and I love like the show Young Justice is great, very Lauren coded show, and so like doing the Bright sessions felt a little like that. And then of course when you and I made a show for Marvel, that was like the apotheosis of that thing, and it felt exactly like I had always dreamed. And for a while after we made that show in 2019, I was like, wow, I did it. What do I dream of next? And it took me a minute to bounce back. So like from there, I have also done a lot of productions that, again, it's too many voices in a room, people having strong opinions when they really are not experts in things, that just like make me so frustrated when I'm trying to do art with cool people. So the kinds of projects I look for these days are not necessarily a particular project. It's like, is the process going to be good? Am I working with people who are passionate about this story and saying something with it and doing something with it? So what am I working on these days? Well, I am working on a couple of shows here and there. My day job is making conversational podcasts at Multitude under Brandon, your partner. I am working right now. We're in production on season 3 of Star Tripper, a sci-fi action comedy that I make with and starring Ian McEwan as Festin Pixis, an alien bureaucrat who sells all his movie memorabilia and buys a used spaceship to make a space travel podcast. We're on year 7 since that show came out, and we're working on season 3 right now, which tells you how it's going. But it is going to be great. I've written some scripts for this season that I'm particularly proud of.
I cannot wait.
Ian and I are also working on a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. It's an actual play show. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons right now. We might pivot to something else in the future. It's called The Wandering Path, in which it sort of fulfills my urge to make audio drama, except the show is all improvised, and the podcast includes ourselves making it. So it's like half immersive audio drama, half conversational comedy podcast, in a way that like, and I do full music and sound design over the whole thing too, except for footsteps. I told my producers, I'm like, it's Dungeons and Dragons. You can describe yourself walking. I'm not doing footsteps. Just describe yourself walking.
That is correct.
So that releases every 2 weeks, and I'm very proud of it. We're just crossed a year anniversary of releasing that show.
Oh my gosh,
it's pretty
congrats.
Cool.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And I am working on a new show that hopefully will be coming out pretty soon. It's still in the development phase, but it is a conversational show with me and one of my players on the Wandering Path named Mayana Baron. And we're talking about a game that means a lot to us and a surprising amount of people. Can I announce it here?
You can do whatever you want.
I'm going to announce it here. Look out for Simple and Clean in your podcast apps coming soon. I'm very excited about it.
I am very excited about it too, and I as somebody who is not as familiar with the game as you are, I am very very excited to learn more.
Yeah.
And then obviously
anything else that I'm doing new, I post at my website, MischaStanton.com. Thank you so much, Lauren, for putting the URL on screen. I'm constantly coming into new and exciting projects at Multitude as well. They're too numerous to name all of them here, but they are very cool, and I'm very proud of them. So anything I do that's new and exciting and fun, I will put on my website. So check me out.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, and go listen to Ars Paradoxica too if you haven't listened to it, because it's outstanding. I'm totally with you on. Mostly now I'm just looking for projects where I like the collaborators. If I'm being hired to write a script for something or to direct something or kind of come on to somebody else's idea. I just want to have a good time. I can find a way to care about any story. I just want to make cool art that's, fun with people who are cool and fun. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, whatever my next project is, I don't want to have to argue with people about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really what it is. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I only want to work with people who have the exact same taste and ideas as me. Right. I think it's important to work with people who see things a little bit differently than you, but where you can communicate. So one of the things that I haven't been able to talk about at all for 2.5 years, and that I'm finally starting to talk about because we took it out and pitched it and nobody wanted to buy it, and so now who knows, is a show that I've been developing since early 2023 called Phantom Pulse.
Yeah.
It is about a band in the 90s, a rock band in the 90s that can exorcise ghosts with their music. So they go around and play gigs and also go to haunted places and cleanse those places of ghosts. And so it's a musical as well, but not in the traditional sense, because all of the music is diegetic. It's all the band playing gigs. So it's part of the story. And I got to make a pilot with my partner Brandon and with Evan, where we, did put it all together. It sounds amazing. If you are a Plus pal, you can hear it on our Discord right now, or by downloading it in the memberful. But it probably will hopefully become available for people to listen to sometime in the fall. The pilot is just a proof of concept, right? I who knows if it'll be that cast. I mean, it won't be that cast because I play one of the roles, and I'm not going to do that. But I'm free when I act in things. And so it's just very easy for me to act in stuff when I'm trying to figure it out. But I am hopefully going to be crowdfunding for that this fall. It is a crazy expensive show.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see exactly how it goes. I'm sort of putting together what the crowdfund would be now, and also figuring out sort of other logistical elements. But that to me, I have not been this sort of feral about one of my own ideas since the Bright Sessions, because it's got that same sort of found family, queer platonic relationship feel as the Bright Sessions, except it's just added religious trauma and death.
Good.
So it's but fun though, but in a fun way. If you just go to atypicalartist.co, you can sign up for our mailing list and you'll hear anything about that as it comes. But you can also go to atypicalartist.co/Phantom Pulse to listen to the exorcism gig right now, which I think sounds amazing. Finally, sorry, did you have something to?
Well, no, I just want to say and of course, which projects am I looking forward to the most? I'm looking forward to the thing you call me for next. I'm sitting by the phone waiting for you to call me when we're doing our next show together.
Yes. Yeah, I can't wait for that day too. I miss working with you a lot, and Yeah, I just gotta figure out how to fund audio drama.
That we've been doing this for 10 years, and isn't that just the perpetual problem?
It's just still the question. Still the question. It's why everything I've made in the last 2 years has been sound
You and
designed
your
by
house.
me and starring 2 or fewer people.
Yep.
So yeah, more to come for sure, and more to come of these live streams. You can go to that link to see sort of the schedule of which seasons and which months. The specific dates are going to be coming. I haven't announced this anywhere else yet, but my plan is to do a Halloween live stream where I just kind of park on a live stream for a couple of hours leading up to midnight Eastern time, because I'm not staying up until midnight my time. Because November 1st is the anniversary, and so I thought it would be fun to do sort of like a longer Halloween live stream that anybody can drop by. So hopefully, Mischa, you can take some time out of your Halloween schedule to maybe drop into that.
Sure.
What we'll see exactly what shape that takes.
Okay.
But yeah, atypicalhours.co/10years for updates on that. You can sign up for a mailing list. We also have some new merch in the store right now, including Agent Green's stress ball. We've done an AM stress ball, which I think is really fun.
Really good.
So go check that out as well. Mischa, thank you so much for coming on and just gabbing with me about audio drama and the Bright Sessions. Any final words you want to leave our viewers with?
I know, like, it's a problematic quote at this point, but like, don't let your dreams be dreams. Anybody can make a show in their bedroom. Truly, it's not going to be the height of production value or anything, but it is going to be yours, and that's just as important.
Could not have said it better myself. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and as always, stay strange.